The unexpected encounter. The vast expanse of space stretched endlessly before the TSS Odyssey, its titanium hull gleaming under the light of distant stars. Captain Naomi Rodriguez stood at the command center, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display that filled the bridge's main viewport. The deep space exploration vessel represented humanity's most advanced achievement in space travel, though few beyond its crew knew its true capabilities. Captain, we're detecting an anomalous energy signature at bearing 347 Mark II. Lieutenant Raven Walsh announced from her tactical station, her fingers dancing across the haptic interface. It's unlike anything in our database. Rodriguez straightened her uniform, a habit born from years of military service. Profile. Massive power output, highly concentrated. Whatever it is, it's not natural. Walsh paused, her expression tightening. Ma'am, it's moving. Definitely artificial. Dr. Hideo Tanaka, the ship's chief science officer, spoke up from his station, his voice carrying the measured calm of a seasoned researcher. The energy pattern suggests technology far beyond our current understanding. Yet there's something elegant about its configuration. Battle stations, Rodriguez ordered, her voice calm but firm. Throughout the ship, warning lights pulsed a steady amber as crew members moved with practiced efficiency to their combat positions. The Odyssey might have been built for exploration, but humanity had learned the hard way that space held as many dangers as it did wonders. The source of the energy signature soon revealed itself, a massive vessel that seemed to be crafted from living crystal, its surface refracting starlight in mesmerizing patterns. It was easily twice the size of the Odyssey, its design defying conventional engineering principles. They're scanning us, Walsh reported, her hands hovering over the weapon's controls. Their sensors are incredible. They're mapping our entire ship down to the quantum level. Before Rodriguez could respond, a communication request flashed across their systems. The universal translators hummed to life, ready to bridge the gap between species. With a nod from the captain, the channel opened. The being that appeared on their view screen was unlike anything they had encountered in humanity's brief ventures into space. It appeared humanoid, but with iridescent skin that shifted colors like oil on water. 4 arms moved with fluid grace as it operated unseen controls, and its eyes, 3 of them, blinked in an unsettling rhythm. Greetings, vessel of unknown origin. The alien spoke, its words processed through the translator. I am Ambassador Jax Thor of the Meridian Collective. We come seeking dialogue. Rodriguez stepped forward, her posture straight but non-threatening. I am Captain Naomi Rodriguez of the Terran spaceship Odyssey. We represent humanity and the United Earth government. We also seek peaceful contact. The ambassador's skin rippled with shades of blue. An emotional response their xenobiologists would later learn indicated curiosity. Your vessel, it contains technologies we find most intriguing, particularly your propulsion and weapon systems. They are primitive, yet somehow advanced in ways we hadn't considered possible. Chief Engineer Marcus Patterson, who had been quietly monitoring the exchange from his station, couldn't suppress a smile. The Odyssey's systems were his life's work, a brilliant fusion of brute force engineering and quantum mechanics that most of humanity's own scientists considered impossible. We found that sometimes the simplest solutions are the most effective. Rodriguez replied diplomatically. Perhaps we could arrange an exchange of knowledge that would benefit both our species. Jax Thor's response was interrupted by a sudden burst of activity from their ship. Lights flashed across its crystalline surface, and its color shifted to a deep, alarming red. Captain Rodriguez, the ambassador's tone had changed dramatically. We may have an opportunity to demonstrate the value of cooperation sooner than anticipated. Our long-range sensors have detected something approaching, something that threatens both our peoples. The Meridian ship transmitted their sensor data to the Odyssey. As the information appeared on their screens, the human crew fell silent. Approaching from the galactic north was a massive fleet of unknown vessels, moving with a synchronization that seemed almost hive-mind-like in its precision. The swarm, Jax Thor explained, their skin now a pale, sickly green. They consume everything in their path: resources, technology, entire civilizations. We've tracked their destruction across 3 sectors. Our analysts predict they'll reach this region in less than 30 standard cycles. Rodriguez studied the tactical display, her mind already racing through scenarios. The swarm ships were numerous but relatively small, their formation reminiscent of Earth's ancient wolf packs. It was a hunting pattern she recognized all too well. "Ambassador," she said, a plan already forming in her mind. "Humanity has a saying, 'The enemy of my enemy is my friend.' Perhaps we should discuss how our primitive technologies might complement your advanced capabilities." As the 2 ships moved into formation, preparing to share detailed intelligence about the approaching threat, neither crew fully realized they were about to forge an alliance that would change the course of galactic history. The Meridians would soon learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their technology, but in their ability to adapt, to think differently, and to face overwhelming odds with innovative solutions that defied conventional wisdom. The Odyssey's crew, for their part, would discover that sometimes the best way to advance wasn't to work harder at old solutions, but to combine different approaches in ways nobody had considered before. As Captain Rodriguez looked out at the crystalline ship now floating alongside them, she felt a familiar sensation, the same excitement she'd experienced before every major challenge in her career. Dr. Tanaka, begin full spectrum analysis of their sensor data. Lieutenant Walsh, work with their tactical team to assess their combat capabilities. Patterson. She turned to her chief engineer with a knowing look. Start thinking outside the box. Way outside. The first steps of an unprecedented collaboration were about to begin. And with them, the greatest test humanity had ever faced. The question wasn't whether they would survive the coming storm, but how their response to it would reshape the very nature of interstellar warfare. Alliance of necessity. The Meridian crystalline vessel cast prismatic shadows across the Odyssey's bridge as both ships maintained their parallel course through deep space. Chief Engineer Marcus Patterson stood before the assembled human and Meridian officers in the Odyssey's Strategic Command Center, his hands gesturing at the holographic display of his latest creation. "The principle is simple," Patterson explained, his eyes bright with the fervor of innovation. "We combine your crystal-based energy matrices with our kinetic weapon systems. The Meridian's technology excels at energy projection, while we humans have mastered the art of delivering concentrated force. Together, they become something entirely new." Ambassador Jax Thor's skin shifted through shades of purple, indicating deep thought, as the human crew had learned. "Your species' approach continues to fascinate us. Where we seek to harness the fundamental forces of the universe, you find ways to amplify basic principles to extraordinary effect." The technical integration team had been working around the clock for the past week. Dr. Tanaka's research group had made breakthrough after breakthrough in understanding Meridian technology, while Patterson's engineers had begun modifying the Odyssey's weapon systems to accommodate the new hybrid designs. "Look at this simulation," Patterson continued, manipulating the hologram. "Standard kinetic rounds, enhanced by Meridian crystal matrices. When fired, they don't just impact, they create localized quantum disruptions. The swarm's shields won't know what hit them." Captain Rodriguez observed from the back of the room, noting how the human and Meridian crews had begun to work together with increasing efficiency. What had started as cautious cooperation was evolving into genuine collaboration, driven by the urgent threat approaching their position. Lieutenant Walsh's voice came over the intercom, interrupting the presentation. "Captain to the bridge immediately. Long-range sensors have picked up something you need to see." The command crew rushed to their stations. The main view screen showed a distant sector of space where a small mining colony had once existed. Now it was nothing but debris, the wreckage of ships and stations scattered across a vast area. "The swarm's vanguard," Jax Thor said, their skin now a pale, alarmed white. "They're moving faster than we anticipated. This attack happened less than 6 hours ago." Rodriguez studied the tactical display, her expression grim. "They're testing our defenses, probing for weaknesses. Lieutenant Walsh, analysis of their attack pattern. They operated as a perfect unit, Captain. Each ship knew exactly what the others would do. But there's something else. Walsh manipulated the sensor data, highlighting energy readings. Their weapons are adaptive. Each attack was slightly different from the last, like they were learning as they fought. Patterson stepped forward, his mind already racing with possibilities. Captain, we need to accelerate the integration schedule. The swarm isn't just powerful, they're intelligent. They'll analyze our capabilities and adapt to counter them. We need to be able to change our tactics faster than they can learn them. Agreed. Rodriguez nodded. Ambassador, we'll need to modify both our ships. The Odyssey's engineering bay is better equipped for the physical modifications, while your vessel's crystal laboratories can handle the energy matrix calibrations. As the two crews threw themselves into the preparations, Rodriguez couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something crucial. The swarm's attack pattern was too precise, too calculated. They weren't just destroying. They were studying, learning, adapting. In her quarters later that night, Rodriguez reviewed the sensor logs again. The swarm ships moved with an artificial grace, their formations shifting like liquid metal. It reminded her of something, but she couldn't quite place it. A call from Patterson interrupted her thoughts. Captain, you need to see this. We've finished the first prototype integration. And, well, it's better if you see for yourself. In the engineering bay, Patterson had assembled a small team of human and Meridian technicians around what looked like a standard ship-to-ship missile. But as Rodriguez watched, the weapon's surface seemed to ripple, crystal formations growing and receding like breathing organisms. It's alive, Patterson said, barely containing his excitement. The Meridian crystals don't just enhance the weapon, they evolve with it. Each time we run a simulation, the crystal matrix reconfigures itself to be more effective. It's learning, Captain, just like the swarm, but faster. For the first time since the threat had appeared, Rodriguez felt a glimmer of hope. The swarm might be adaptive, but they were about to face something unprecedented. Human ingenuity combined with Meridian wisdom, creating something greater than the sum of its parts. As she watched the prototype pulse with its strange new energy, Rodriguez realized that this war wouldn't be won by superior firepower or advanced technology alone. It would be won by the ability to change, to adapt, and to surprise. And if there was one thing humans had proven throughout their history, it was their talent for surprising everyone, including themselves. The art of human warfare. The first real test of the Human-Meridian alliance came sooner than anyone expected. 3 swarm scout ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel on the edge of the system, their biomechanical forms twisting in ways that defied physics. Lieutenant Walsh's tactical display lit up with warning indicators as the enemy vessels began their scan patterns. "They're probing our defenses," Walsh reported, her fingers hovering over the weapon's controls. "Standard search pattern. But there's something different about their energy signatures. They've evolved since the last encounter." Captain Rodriguez shared a meaningful look with Ambassador Jax Thor, who now maintained a permanent presence on the Odyssey's bridge. "Time to test Patterson's hybrid defense system. Ambassador, is your ship in position?" The Meridian skin rippled with shades of determined gold. "We are ready, Captain. Though I must admit, your engineer's plan seems most unorthodox." "Unorthodox is what we do best," Rodriguez replied with a slight smile. "Lieutenant Walsh, initiate Protocol Chameleon." The Odyssey's new crystal-enhanced systems hummed to life. On the exterior of both ships, panels that appeared to be standard armor plating began to shift and change. The Meridian crystals, integrated throughout both vessels' defensive systems, started absorbing and refracting sensor signals in precise patterns. "Sensor ghosting complete," Dr. Tanaka announced from his station. "As far as the swarm can tell, we're just another cluster of space debris." The enemy scouts moved closer, their biomechanical sensors sweeping the area. Patterson's voice came over the comm from engineering, where he was monitoring the hybrid systems. "Crystal matrices are holding stable. The integration is working better than we hoped. They're actually learning from the swarm's scan patterns, adapting our camouflage in real time. Rodriguez watched the tactical display intently as the swarm ships moved into the perfect position. Now, Mr. Patterson, show them what humanity brings to this fight. The engineer's modifications revealed themselves in spectacular fashion. What the swarm had dismissed as debris suddenly erupted with weaponry that combined human kinetic innovation with meridian crystal technology. The first volley of hybrid missiles streaked across space, their crystal matrices pulsing with energy. The swarm ships attempted to raise their shields, but they were designed to defend against either energy weapons or physical impacts, not both simultaneously. The hybrid weapons phased through their defensive screens as if they weren't there, their crystal matrices creating localized quantum disruptions that allowed the kinetic payloads to bypass the shields entirely. Two of the scout ships erupted in silent explosions. The third, however, began a transformation. Its hull rippled and shifted, trying to adapt to the new threat. But Patterson had anticipated this. Second wave. Launching now, Walsh announced. The next volley of weapons was different. The crystal matrices had evolved, learning from the first attack and modifying their approach. The third swarm ship never had a chance to complete its adaptation. As the debris of the enemy vessels drifted through space, Rodriguez turned to Jax Thor. Analysis. The ambassador's skin had taken on a deep blue hue of amazement. Remarkable. The swarm's greatest strength has always been their ability to adapt to any weapon used against them. But your hybrid weapons, they adapt faster than the swarm can respond. It's like watching evolution accelerated to impossible speeds. That's the thing about humans, Patterson said, joining them on the bridge. We've never been the strongest or the fastest. We survived by outthinking our predators, by using tools in ways nature never intended. These hybrid weapons aren't just technology. They're a reflection of humanity's entire evolutionary strategy. Dr. Tanaka's voice cut through the moment of triumph. Captain, you need to see this. The quantum sensors are picking up massive disturbances in subspace. The swarm, they're coming. All of them. The tactical display updated to show hundreds of signatures emerging from faster-than-light travel. The swarm had apparently decided that this new threat warranted their full attention. The entire hive was converging on their position. Rodriguez surveyed her crew, noting the determination in their eyes. They had proven their concept worked. Human ingenuity combined with meridian technology could defeat the swarm. But now, they would face the true test. Could they hold their own against overwhelming odds? Send word to the fleet, she ordered. All ships begin crystal integration immediately. Patterson, you're about to get a lot more test data for your hybrid systems. Ambassador, I hope your people are ready for what's coming. Jax Thor's skin rippled with a pattern the humans had never seen before, a complex swirl of colors that their xenobiologists would later identify as the meridian expression of fierce joy. We are ready, Captain. The swarm is about to learn that evolution isn't always a slow process. Sometimes it happens in a single revolutionary moment. As both crews prepared for the coming battle, Rodriguez allowed herself a small smile. The swarm thought they were the masters of adaptation, but they were about to face something they had never encountered before. Human creativity unleashed across an entirely new technological frontier. The real war was about to begin, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy exactly what they could do when pushed to their limits. Turning the tide. Space distorted as hundreds of swarm vessels emerged from faster-than-light travel, their biomechanical forms casting long shadows across the stellar backdrop. The Odyssey and its Meridian ally held position at the center of a hastily assembled defense fleet, a mix of human and Meridian vessels, all retrofitted with Patterson's hybrid technology in the precious few hours they'd had to prepare. Enemy fleet analysis, Lieutenant Walsh announced, her voice steady despite the overwhelming odds displayed on her tactical screen. 517 vessels, varying in size from corvette to dreadnought class. They're arranging themselves in a sphere formation. They mean to surround us. Captain Rodriguez studied the holographic display, noting how the swarm ships moved with unsettling synchronization. Dr. Tanaka, what are you seeing? The science officer's fingers danced across his console. Their ships are evolving, Captain. The ones in the outer layers are developing heavily reinforced shields, while the inner ranks are morphing into what appear to be specialized weapon platforms. They're adapting before we even engage. Just as we predicted, Patterson's voice came over the comm from engineering. They're playing right into our hands. The plan they'd devised was audacious, perhaps even insane by conventional military standards. But as Rodriguez had pointed out during the strategy session, conventional thinking wouldn't win this fight. The swarm expected their opponents to either scatter in fear or cluster together defensively. Instead, Rodriguez had something entirely different in mind. All ships, execute Protocol Sunburst, she ordered. The response was immediate and choreographed with precision that would have made the swarm proud. The combined fleet split into smaller groups, each taking up positions that seemed random to the untrained eye, but followed a complex mathematical pattern Patterson had derived from studying crystal growth structures. Ambassador Jax Thor's skin pulsed with anticipation. The swarm's collective consciousness is attempting to analyze our formation. They cannot comprehend its purpose. That's because they think like a hive, Rodriguez replied. They expect patterns that serve obvious tactical purposes. They don't understand that sometimes the best pattern is one that appears to have no pattern at all. The swarm fleet began its advance, their outer ships launching the first wave of attacks. Energy beams and biological projectiles streaked across space, only to pass harmlessly through holographic duplicates created by the crystal-enhanced sensor arrays. Now, Mr. Patterson, show them what chaos really looks like. The engineer's voice carried a note of fierce pride as he activated his latest innovation. The crystals integrated throughout the Allied fleet began to pulse in synchronized sequences, creating a cascade of quantum distortions that rippled through space. Each ship became a node in a vast network, their crystals working in harmony to generate an effect that defied traditional physics. The swarm's perfectly organized sphere began to break down as their ships lost contact with each other. The quantum disruption field created by the Allied fleet's crystal network was doing more than just interfering with their communications. It was disrupting the very nature of their collective consciousness. Their formation is fracturing, Walsh reported, excitement creeping into her voice. Individual ships are beginning to act independently. They're losing their coordination. Rodriguez leaned forward in her command chair. Launch the hybrid torpedoes. All ships, concentrate fire on their command vessels. The space between the fleets lit up with hundreds of crystal-enhanced weapons. Unlike traditional torpedoes that followed predictable trajectories, these weapons move with almost organic unpredictability, their paths guided by the same crystal intelligence that had proven so effective in their earlier skirmish. The swarm's response was devastating but unfocused. Without their collective coordination, individual ships fought with savage efficiency, but lacked the strategic cooperation that had made them so formidable. Some vessels attempted to adapt to the hybrid weapons, only to find that each subsequent wave had already evolved beyond their latest defenses. Their adaptation algorithms are failing, Dr. Tanaka announced. They can't keep up with the rate of change in our attack patterns. The crystal matrices are evolving faster than their biological systems can respond. The battle raged for hours, the void filling with the debris of destroyed ships from both sides. But gradually, inevitably, the tide began to turn. The swarm's number advantage meant nothing without their unified coordination, and one by one, their ships fell to the combined might of human ingenuity and Meridian technology. As the last of the swarm command ships erupted in a massive explosion, a cheer went up from the human crew. Even Ambassador Jax Thor's skin rippled with patterns of victory. But Rodriguez remained focused on her tactical display. Status of the remaining swarm vessels: scattered and in disarray, Walsh reported. Some are attempting to retreat, others are continuing to fight individually, but their threat as a coordinated force is broken. Patterson's voice carried a mix of exhaustion and triumph. The crystal networks are still evolving, Captain. Each engagement makes them more effective. Even if the swarm regroups, they won't be able to adapt fast enough to counter our systems. Rodriguez allowed herself a small smile. They had done what seemed impossible, turned the swarm's greatest strength into a weakness. But as she watched the remaining enemy ships struggling to escape, she knew this wasn't the end. The swarm would return, perhaps with new adaptations, new strategies. But when they did, humanity and the Meridians would be ready. All ships, form up on our position, she ordered. We have wounded to tend to and repairs to make. And then, she shared a meaningful look with Jax-Thor. We have a galaxy to defend. A new dawn. 3 months after the decisive battle, the Odyssey's observation deck offered a spectacular view of an unprecedented sight. A massive space station under joint construction by human and Meridian engineers. Its design was unlike anything either species had created before, combining the practical efficiency of human architecture with the crystalline beauty of Meridian aesthetics. Captain Rodriguez stood beside Ambassador Jax-Thor, watching as construction drones wove lattices of crystal-enhanced metal into intricate patterns. The station would serve as both a defensive outpost and a symbol of their newfound alliance, a testament to what could be achieved when different species work together. The remaining swarm forces have gone silent, Jax-Thor reported, their skin displaying subtle patterns of cautious optimism. Our long-range sensors detect them retreating to the galactic rim. They are learning a different kind of adaptation. Fear, Rodriguez nodded. They're learning to fear what happens when you push humanity to innovate. Though I suspect that's not the only lesson they're taking from this encounter. In the station's primary research lab, Chief Engineer Patterson and a team of human and Meridian scientists were already working on the next generation of hybrid technologies. The crystal matrices that had proven so effective against the swarm were evolving in new and unexpected ways, opening up possibilities that neither species had imagined possible. The crystals aren't just adapting anymore, Patterson explained during his weekly briefing. They're anticipating, extrapolating potential futures based on past patterns. It's like they've developed a form of technological intuition. Dr. Tanaka's research team had made equally fascinating discoveries. The quantum entanglement effects we observed during the battle weren't just disrupting the swarm's collective consciousness, he reported. They were creating new forms of communication between our ships. The crystal networks are developing their own kind of awareness, not artificial intelligence as we understand it, but something entirely new. The implications were staggering. What had begun as a desperate alliance against a common enemy was evolving into something far more significant. A true synthesis of different approaches to understanding and manipulating the fundamental forces of the universe. Lieutenant Walsh, who had been reorganizing the combined fleet's defensive strategies, noted how the integration went beyond technology. The Meridian tactical officers think in centuries, while we humans tend to focus on immediate solutions. Together, we're learning to balance long-term strategy with rapid adaptation. It's changing how both our species approach problem-solving. The changes weren't limited to military applications. Throughout human and Meridian space, the hybrid technologies were being adapted for peaceful purposes. Crystal-enhanced medical equipment could adapt to individual patients in real time. Communication systems evolved to bridge not just language barriers, but fundamental differences in how species perceived and processed information. We thought we were prepared for anything, Rodriguez mused, watching as another section of the station's crystal superstructure came online, its surface shimmering with patterns of contained energy. We had protocols for first contact, for warfare, for technological exchange. But nothing could have prepared us for this, for how meeting another species would change us both. Jax-Thor's skin rippled with patterns that the human crew had learned to recognize as philosophical contemplation. Perhaps that is the greatest lesson the swarm taught us. They sought to evolve through conquest, through forcing their will upon the universe. But true evolution comes from cooperation, from the willing exchange of ideas and perspectives. But alert from the station's sensors interrupted their conversation. Long-range scans had detected something approaching, not the swarm this time, but a new species, one unknown to either humans or Meridians. Their ship's design was bizarre, seemingly defying several laws of physics, and their attempts at communication used principles neither species translators could fully comprehend. Rodriguez and Jaxthor shared a knowing look. Once, such an encounter would have been met with fear or suspicion. Now it represented something else. An opportunity. Another perspective to add to their growing understanding of the universe. Another set of ideas to incorporate into their evolving technologies and philosophies. "Shall we greet our new visitors?" Rodriguez asked, already knowing the answer. The ambassador's skin displayed a pattern that perfectly matched the captain's smile. Indeed. After all, if there's one thing our alliance has proven, it's that the most remarkable discoveries come from embracing the unknown. As the strange ship approached the station, its crew no doubt wondering at the sight of humans and Meridians working together in harmony, Rodriguez reflected on how far they'd come. The swarm had sought to consume and conquer, never understanding that true power came not from domination, but from the willingness to learn, to change, and to grow together. The hybrid crystal technologies had given them the means to defeat a seemingly unstoppable enemy, but the real victory was in what came after, the birth of a new way of thinking about species, about technology, about the very nature of progress itself. As humanity and the Meridians prepared to make first contact once again, they did so not as separate species temporarily allied, but as partners in an ongoing journey of discovery. The universe, they had learned, was far more wonderful and strange than either species had imagined, and they were ready to face whatever new challenges it held, together.